These terrifying places in America are responsible for the disappearance of tourists. Let's dig into them, starting with the Bermuda Triangle of the Pacific, which is also known as the Columbia River Gorge. This place is located on the Oregon-Washington border and is a scenic and popular tourist destination. However, this area has been dubbed the Bermuda Triangle of the Pacific due to the unusually high number of unexplained disappearances and accidents. One such incident occurred in 1955 when a group of 3 friends, Jimmy, Bob, and Bill, embarked on a fishing trip in the gorge. Now, despite being experienced outdoorsmen, they failed to return, and an extensive search effort yielded, no signs of the missing men. They couldn't be found. Now, the most famous incident that has recently come back in the spotlight is the Martin family. Now, in December of 1958, the Martin family, Kenneth, Barbara, and their 3 daughters vanished while on a trip to the gorge to gather Christmas greenery. Now, a Ford station wagon believed to be theirs was recently found in the Columbia River, potentially shedding light on their disappearance. In 1958, the family never returned, and 2 days later, they were reported missing when Kenneth and Barbara failed to show up for work. Officials narrowed, their search after learning that Ken had used a credit card, yes, they had them back then, to buy gas at a station near Cascade Locks, which is a small Columbia River community about 40 miles east of Portland. Now, police investigated their residence at approximately 11 p.m., searching for any signs of foul play. The house had been left undisturbed, though. A load of laundry was in the washing machine. Dishes from the previous day were left out on the drying rack in the kitchen. There was also a substantial amount of money in the Martins' bank accounts. Now, a Ford station wagon believed to be the Martins was recently found in the river, like no joke, a few months ago. So this is nearly 70 years later. A diver by the name of Archer Mayo discovered the vehicle, and officials believe it could be the same car the Martins were driving when they disappeared. After 2 days of dredging, a crane pulled the Ford station wagon from the river. But get this, no human remains were found in the vehicle. This is an insane cold case. The Columbia River Gorge's, unique geography with its steep cliffs and powerful currents may contribute to the high incidence of accidents. However, many believe that the area is cursed and that supernatural forces are at work. Pecos, New Mexico is up next. Now, this sleepy New Mexico town is known in the area for its numerous disappearances. Pecos is a seemingly normal village, an upcoming vacation destination amid the pine forests of New Mexico. Now, located just outside of Santa Fe near Pecos National Historical Park, this small town is typically quiet and very quaint, and yet this seemingly normal town is also the site of some pretty strange, disappearances. In 1998, a 71-year-old woman named Emma Tress was driving along a road near a local monastery for a retreat. That road, County Road 63A, ominously known to the locals as Camino del Diablo, was the last known location of Tress. When Emma left her home and was en route to the retreat, a retreat and place that she knew very well, she had traveled that exact route several times prior. The route to the monastery is well known and paved the entire way, and by her children's accounts, Emma was in excellent health and had no known mental issues or no known, bouts of memory loss at that time. Emma's last record of being seen was a gas stop in Santa Rosa, New Mexico at approximately 3 p.m. So she should have, reached the monastery by 4:30 or 5 p.m. with no stops. Now, data from that date shows it was a perfect New Mexico summer day. Average temperature was 70 degrees, the sun set between 8 and 9 p.m. So even if she took a little detour to hike or take pictures, which she was known to do, she had plenty of daylight to see her way to the final destination. Now, days later, her car was found wrecked nearby, but her body was never found. Strangely, many of Tress' belongings, including her cell phone, were still in the car. Even stranger were the footprints that surrounded the car, clearly made by Tress herself. These footprints circled the car, but didn't head towards the road. Tress simply vanished. Into thin air. Theories range, from the plausible, like a local serial, or natural passing in New Mexico's dangerous forests and desert, terrain, to the supernatural, like a UFO abduction or accidentally walking into a portal to another dimension. Now, Nancy Tress, her daughter, had a message to the public in hopes of getting any information that could possibly still be out there. She said, if you know anything and you've heard anything in the past, please come forward. Tress said she and her family have not given up hope that they could find out what happened to their mother. She said, whatever happened, it's probably going to be painful, but you always want to know where your parent is. I don't want to say it's closure. I hate that word. The haunted highway, Route 66 in Arizona. Now, Route 66, also known as the Mother Road, is one of America's most iconic highways. However, a stretch of this road in Arizona has earned a reputation for being haunted, with numerous tourists disappearing while driving through the area. Now, in 1959, a family of 3, including a young person, vanished while driving along the road. Now, their abandoned car was found, but despite an extensive search effort, no bodies were ever recovered. Years later, in 1975, a group of friends, including 2 women, disappeared while driving through the exact same area. Now, their car was found abandoned with strange symbols etched into the dashboard. Many believe that this stretch of Route 66 is haunted by the spirits of those who have passed in accidents or been executed along the road. Others, attribute the disappearances to the area's remote location and lack of cell phone reception. Now, considering the thousands of miles and hundreds of small towns this famous route runs through, including a few of America's most notorious ghost towns, it's no wonder that Route 66, is widely considered America's most haunted highway. But when it comes to spooky spots, there are a few that can hold a candle to the ones you find in Arizona, where Route 66 runs through some of the most notorious ghost stories in the American Old West. From the town of Flagstaff with its mountain views and haunted hotels to Williams, known for being the gateway to the Grand Canyon as well as an energy vortex and spiritual center, this historic stretch of highway has been turning heads for nearly a century. When it comes to haunted attractions in Arizona, as well as famous sections of Route 66 that are still seeing, high volumes of daily drivers, there are a few that enjoy the lore and legacy of Flagstaff. Now, here more than anywhere, Route 66 is still alive and well, which is more than can be said for the slew of notorious ghosts that inhabit the sleepy mountain town, haunting their historic buildings and making Flagstaff a must-stop for paranormal attractions. Now, from a long-departed bellboy to a library that has seen its fair share of horrors down in the basement, it would be difficult to assume which corner of Flagstaff is the most haunted. But when it comes to historic haunts right off of Route 66, few have had the impact of the Weatherford Hotel. Now, it's in this popular downtown hotel that spirits can be seen roaming the halls at night, especially around the maid's storage room, and hotel staff have been through everything from bottles being thrown off shelves, lights and jukeboxes, coming on and in the middle of the night, and it just goes to show that when it comes to the strange and unusual, Route 66, Flagstaff has remained a touchstone, offering devilish delights alongside its outdoor attractions, world-class restaurants, and Old West history. Fourth on my list is Yosemite National Park in California. Now, in 1983, a family was exploring Summit Meadow off Glacier Road when one of the children discovered a severed hand and forearm. In spite of consistent searches from investigators, no other body parts were found, and authorities were unable to identify the victim or make progress on the case. Now, in 1988, a skull was found across the street from the site, but the Park Service still couldn't attach a name to the victim. It wasn't until 2022 that the Park Service, using DNA profile from the remains, named the victim, who was Patricia Hicks, a woman linked to a local cult leader who allegedly used LSD to weaken and disorient victims. Now, the man had been convicted of essaying women back in the 1980s, but disappeared before he was incarcerated. But according to a 2022 report by the San Francisco Gate and a 2022 episode of the ABC News show Wild Crime, investigators think the cult connection was incidental and that Hicks was actually unalived by the notorious serial person Henry Lee Lucas, who confessed to hundreds of slayings across the nation. Now, Lucas at the time of his arrest revealed details about the Summit Meadow crime scene that had not been released in the media. Now, still, the details that Lucas gave regarding the incident and victim were deemed, circumstantial, so the case remains unsolved. Lucas passed away in prison in 2001, and the question of who is behind the demise of Patricia Hicks may never be solved. Lastly, I have Grand Canyon National Park, Arizona, and the newlyweds who disappeared. The Grand Canyon might be best known for its 5,000-foot walls, but the rapids at the bottom of the gorge are huge as well. Native Americans likely traveled the canyon for hundreds of years, but the first European American documented as navigating it was John Wesley Powell in 1869. Since then, roughly 100 people have drowned in the rapids. Now, arguably the most famous and mysterious drowning or incident happened in 1928, when the newlyweds Glenn and Bessie Hyde attempted to paddle their Grand Canyon on their honeymoon. Now, they were in a boat that Glenn had built himself, attempting a speed record paddle through the canyon that would also have made Bessie the first woman to run it. The Hydes were last seen on November 18th, and their boat was found intact with all of their supplies a month later on December 19th. Now, the boat was in perfect condition with all of the contents, including Bessie's diary, intact. Now, search parties, basically scoured the canyon, but their bodies were never found. It's possible and probable that the couple was washed out of the boat during one of the rapids and the vessel continued downstream without them. But Glenn and Bessie were both experienced rafters. A popular theory has emerged over the years that Bessie unalived her new husband somewhere deep in the canyon. Talk about a good honeymoon, eh? Another river runner, which is Emery Kolb, encountered the couple in the canyon and noted Bessie's hesitance to continue the journey and that they didn't have life jackets. In 1971, a woman named Elizabeth Cutler claimed to be Bessie Hyde, alleging that she attacked her husband during a fight with a sharp object and had been living a different life ever since. Cutler eventually denied the claim, and it was later rumored that the pioneering river runner, Georgie Clark, the first woman to own a commercial rafting business in the Grand Canyon, was actually Bessie Hyde. Now, after Clark passed away in 1992, the Hyde's marriage license was found in her home, as well as a birth certificate identifying Clark as Bessie DeRoss, according to an account by North Arizona University. Now, DeRoss was her birth name. Why she changed her first name to Georgie is unknown. Georgie Clark was married twice and had a daughter who passed away in a bicycle accident. We don't have enough info to say, Clark was the Bessie who disappeared in the Grand Canyon, and some historians have discounted the idea.
Alright, I think I'm gonna kick off today with a case from Detroit, Michigan. The mystery of the disappearance of Phyllis Ann Flynn is one that lingers, casting a shadow over the years that have passed since that fateful night in May of 1988, which was before I was born. It's a puzzle that has defied resolution, leaving family and investigators grasping at straws in their quest for answers. After a birthday celebration at the Hotel Yorba in Detroit, Flynn vanished without a trace. The circumstances surrounding her disappearance are as mysterious as the hotel itself. She had requested that her father pick her up, a plea that would echo throughout the years as a haunting reminder of the unanswered questions. Now, the timeline of events is hauntingly sparse. A few days after her birthday, Flynn called home, signaling her desire to be retrieved from the Hotel Yorba. However, when her father arrived, she had evaporated into thin air, leaving behind an eerie void, and nobody has heard from her since. In the years that followed, the case went cold, a perplexing enigma with no breakthroughs. The detective assigned to Flynn's case retired, and the shadows seemed to close in on the scant leads. But even as the official investigation drew to a close, a glimmer of hope persisted among those determined to unravel the mystery. A family friend and a diligent Michigan State police detective breathed some new life into the cold case back in 2014, so about a decade ago, reigniting the flame of inquiry. The Community United Effort Center for Missing Persons brought national attention to Flynn's disappearance, thrusting it into the spotlight of awareness-building efforts. The passage of time has not dimmed the resolve of those seeking closure. The Missing in Michigan campaign, led by Detective Sarah Krebs, has tirelessly worked to unearth fresh clues. The story of Phyllis Flynn found its place on billboards, a visual plea for information that could hopefully pierce through the fog of uncertainty. But to this day, the question remains: what happened at the Hotel Yorba? The void left by Flynn's disappearance resonates, a silent call for answers. The reward offered by Crime Stoppers of Michigan stands as an incentive, a monetary beacon beckoning anybody with information to step forward. But with the passage of 36 years, the harsh reality is lingering. Flynn's family, against the odds, clings to hope that she might still be alive. But sadly, the Hotel Yorba, once a backdrop to a birthday celebration, now stands as a silent witness to a disappearance that continues to baffle those who seek resolution. So I don't exactly have a name for this next hotel, outside of knowing that it's somewhere in the UK. I know, vague, but it was worth telling today. Imagine a place shrouded in whispers and veiled in the unknown. A hotel that, over the years, has become an unsettling enigma, a backdrop to a haunting mystery that eludes comprehension. It's not your typical story. It's a tale woven with threads of uncertainty and shadowed by the inexplicable disappearances of 66 young people. Nestled in the heart of the countryside, this hotel, with its weathered facade, stands as a testament to a history stained by the unexplained. The corridors echo with the distant laugh of young people who once roamed freely, their footsteps now silenced by a force that transcends the boundaries of our understanding. The first whispers of the mystery dates way back, like decades, a quiet murmur amongst locals who traded stories of curious occurrences. As time unfolded, so did the tales of the vanished youths, leaving a chilling imprint on the history of this seemingly ordinary establishment. Each disappearance, if we're going to compare it to something, maybe a jigsaw piece missing from a larger puzzle, paints a spectral image of uncertainty. The missing people, diverse in their backgrounds, ages, and stories, all converge at this point, their common thread being a vanishing act that perplexes even the most seasoned investigators. The authorities, puzzled and haunted by the lack of clues, have combed through the hotel's history, interviewed witnesses, scrutinized every nook and cranny, but they've got nothing. The answers remain elusive, elusive, like ghosts slipping through the fingers of those who seek them. The hotel itself, with its creaking floorboards and flickering lights, becomes a stage where the mundane collides with the mysterious. An invisible hand seems to orchestrate a malevolent symphony, leaving behind a disconcerting silence in the wake of each disappearance. The local community, once welcoming, now gazes upon the hotel with a mix of fear and curiosity. Whispers in the wind suggest that the place holds secrets, that it harbors an otherworldly energy, indifferent to the laws of our reality. As the count of those who have vanished climbed, the hotel's reputation transformed. It became more than bricks and mortar. It was just this living, breathing entity with a story. The rooms, once filled with the innocent laughter of youth, now resonate with an eerie stillness, a reminder of those who stepped into the shadows and never returned. Yeah, that's not somewhere I want to visit. No thank you, I'll leave the mysteries there. I don't need to unravel them. Now next up we have a legend that I believe to be true. Many years ago, an English woman and her daughter, at the conclusion of a tour in the Near East, arrived at a Paris hotel at the time of the exhibition. They were given separate rooms, one above the other. Trust me, I wouldn't want to be in the same room as my mother. After resting for a few hours, the daughter went to go see her mother, but the room was empty and completely altered. Like new wallpaper, new furniture, new everything. She was panicking. She called the maid and then the manager, and the manager was like, "You're under a delusion. When you arrived at this hotel, you were quite alone." But the girl was like, "No, we signed our names in the visitor's book, mother and I." So they brought out the visitor's book, and above the daughter's name, what the mother had signed, was a signature of a stranger. Now, it wasn't until about a year later that the daughter learned that her mother had died suddenly of the plague, and that in order to save Paris from, crazy panic and the exhibition from absolute ruin, it was hurriedly agreed by the authorities that the death should be completely hushed up, and that the daughter should be made to believe, by the repeated denials of hotel servants, hotel managers, and cabmen, and the proofs of, the changed room and the altered visitor's book, that her unfortunate mother never reached the hotel. Imagine, you go to take a nap and you wake up and all of a sudden, okay, mom's gone, and you're Delulu. The girl allegedly found out the truth in a letter from a chambermaid. So when the story was originally told at a dinner at the house of Arthur Balfour, at the time, British Prime Minister, they were all hanging out, and Balfour was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna guess the ending." Now, a journalist for the Pall Mall Gazette, I think this was around 1913, talked to the author who originally published the tale, a Mr. Clement K. Shorter, noting by this time, of course, we've all heard the story. What's the truth to it? And Mr. Shorter's like, "No, I believe it happened. It is a heck of a lot easier to believe that it happened than it was invented." And given an illness under precisely the same circumstances, the French police authorities are the only police authorities in the world who are equal to coping with it so brilliantly. I can't imagine waking up and being told, "Hey, you're completely wrong. No thank you." Now for a tale that cursed me to my core, Liz, Sarah, and the Cosmos Resort. 2 years ago, a seemingly ordinary vacation turned into a nightmarish odyssey for a pair of friends, Liz and Sarah. The backdrop? A hotel that, despite its outward appearance of renovation and cheerfulness, concealed a darkness that would shake the very core of their existence. So the girls went in the lobby, they're like, "Okay, we're gonna go sign in." But there was this feeling of unease that was just sort of everywhere in the air. The check-in process was marked by odd glances and a peculiar conversation with the hotel staff. But they got upgraded. Woohoo! Room 347. This room with a view that won Sarah over. Seemed like, okay, things are getting better. Maybe my gut's just off. Maybe I need a nap. The first night was uneventful for Sarah, but for Liz, the shadows whispered secrets that kept her awake. Strange scratching noises emanated from behind the walls, which, yikes, that's not a soundtrack I want when I'm trying to sleep. And it only got worse as the days went on. A hidden door, concealed behind a nightstand, revealed a narrow, ominous space that reeked of rust and bleach. Yeah, that's terrifying. As Sarah delved deeper into the mystery, she discovered a network of tunnels, a dark labyrinth that extended beneath the hotel. The eerie passageways, laden with the stench of decay, hinted at a sinister purpose, one that became much more apparent as time went on. Liz's disappearance on the final night of their stay plunged Sarah into a desperate search for answers. The hotel staff's nonchalant response and the dismissive attitude of the police created an air of conspiracy. Sure, because the hidden door that led to under the hotel with the stench of decay wasn't enough. Determined to unravel the enigma, Sarah returned to the haunted hotel, guided by an invitation that seemed to taunt her, if you will. The nights after became a harrowing exploration of the hotel's hidden layers. The H sections, neglected and avoided, hinted at a malevolence that defied, my brain. The discovery of a bricked-up elevator shaft and the disturbing encounters in the narrow tunnels hinted at a malevolent force that lurked within the hotel's very foundation. So, fast forward, it's the final night, and in a desperate attempt to retrace Liz's steps, Sarah was led to an encounter with entities that, weren't of this world. Liz, or a distorted version of her, beckoned from the shadows. The nightmarish entities, with eyes that pierce the darkness, pursued Sarah through the dilapidated corridors, transforming the once grand ballroom into a grotesque spectacle. Now this whole mess reached its climax on the mysterious 7th floor. The revelation that Liz's encounter in the tunnel had birthed something malevolent. Something that wore her face, but harbored unspeakable horrors. Yeah, it painted a bit of a grim picture. The hotel's twisted reality, where time and space lost coherence, left poor Sarah grappling with a profound sense of dread. Now, this sad story concludes with Sarah's escape, but the psychological scars, they run deep. The fear of encountering those otherworldly entities, of witnessing the distorted face of Liz, yeah, that's gonna linger like a memory you don't want to have. The hotel, now a malevolent entity in its own right, kind of stands as a thin veil that separates our world from the other world, and not one you want to go near. Time to travel over to the heart of Santa Fe, and no, that isn't a cue for Newsies or Rent fans, so hush. Nestled within the walls of the La Posada Hotel lies a tale that, well, it's gonna give you some nightmares, folks. It's a narrative steeped in mystery, spectral apparitions, and unexplained phenomena. Cool, we got the whole trifecta. Room 256, once the abode of Julia Staub, echoes with the whispers of a bygone era, where the living and the dead seem to converge in a dance of the paranormal. Is it a ballet? So Chuck Barone, a vigilant security guard, recounted an eerie encounter that unfolded in this specific room of the hotel. In the company of a bellhop and a group of tourists, they approached said room 256, responding to a mysterious voice emanating from within. "I'm in here," it beckoned, yet upon investigation, the room was empty, with its windows locked from the inside, so there was no getting out of there. There was a phantom presence. Unseen, but you felt it. The paranormal enigma extended way beyond Chuck's story, by the way. His son John, a fellow guardian of the hotel secrets, if you will, witnessed a ghostly face in the men's room mirror. It was a woman's face, staring back at him, sending a shiver right down his spine, and this inexplicable encounter left him pale and shaken, which, yeah, that tracks. Ross Weisenhoff, once a skeptic, found himself entangled in the spectral tapestry of the hotel as well. Awakening in the middle of the night, he noticed a luminescent figure at the foot of his bed. This entity morphed into the ethereal form of a woman, fixating on him with an otherworldly gaze. Now this encounter shattered his skepticism, prompting a swift, "I'm getting out of here," as you do. The genesis of these ghostly manifestations lies in the tragic history of Julia, the lady of the mansion turned spectral hostess. She was once the vibrant center of Santa Fe's social tapestry, but fell into self-imposed exile after the loss of her 8th spawn. The Grand Mansion, a testament to love and opulence, transformed into the La Posada Hotel in 1936. Enter Christopher Chacon, a seeker of truth from the Organization of Scientific Investigation and Research. Alongside a team of experts, he delved into the paranormal intricacies of the hotel. Physical, psychological, and electrical examinations were conducted, leaving no stone unturned. 12 hours in isolation within the bedroom that's, doing all the bad things, monitoring the environment for any spectral stirrings. Infrared technology and night vision equipment were brought in, but despite the diligence, the source of the haunting remained elusive. Which, okay, we'll let you be. Ghosty ladies can do what you want. I would like to live at McKamey Manor. Alrighty, before somebody yells at me, yes, this place does market themselves as a haunted house, or to quote the founder Russ, a survival horror performance house, and they're currently offering 20 grand to anyone who can survive 10 hours of their games. Granted, if you curse or fail a challenge, $500 gets removed each time. Also, I've had a personal vendetta against them for almost 10 years now, and that's about to come into play. Founder Russ McKamey, a former Navy seaman turned haunted attraction enthusiast, doesn't accept any kind of money for this unique experience. Payment is simply a can or bag of dog food. There is a screening process first. Participants must produce a doctor's note, sign a 40-page waiver, pass a background check and drug test, and be screened via FaceTime. A guide has testified that the 40-page waiver signed by participants lists possible risks, that include having teeth extracted, being tattooed, and having fingernails removed. If I didn't already hate the place enough, that does it for me. That's just unnecessary torment. It originally operated in San Diego, but neighbors petitioned to have it run out of the area due to the noise and unsafe attention it brought them, and were successful. There's a total of 3 locations now. Nashville, Tennessee, and Huntsville, Alabama are the 2 that we're going to be talking about though. At the Tennessee location, guests must be 21 or older, or 18 with parental consent, while the Alabama location only allows ages 21 and up. The tour lasts from 8 to 10 hours, but no guest has ever made it all the way through. Now, McKamey originally did not allow safe words for the tour, but has since reportedly allowed them, with guests having the option to use a safe word that ends the tour immediately. The house operates year-round, and there is allegedly a waiting list of over 24,000 people. I just want to know why. During the tour, employees of the manor may physically attack patrons, waterboard them, force them to eat and drink unknown substances, have them bound and gagged, and engage in other forms of physical and psychological anguish. I'm forgetting something. Oh, don't remind me. Oh, right. Participants may also be drugged during their experience. And hey, if that wasn't enough ick for anybody, make sure to remember to smile for the camera while you're enduring this hell. McKamey started filming everything that happened inside the manor as an insurance policy, so he'd have proof of what really happened anytime law enforcement came a-knockin'. In addition, each contestant's experience is live streamed to a Facebook audience of close to 30,000 people. If that's your idea of entertainment, there's a large archive of footage on the official website. So far, no one's been able to escape, and I'm pretty sure everybody leaves with some sort of imprint on their psyche. So big pass from me. Hey, what's creepier than an abandoned schoolhouse with a truly terrifying history? It's hard to think of anything. The Dent Schoolhouse is a haunted house attraction set in an actual super spooky haunted house that changes every year, meaning visitors never know what to expect. Imagine a place where the boundary between the living and the dead kind of blurs a little bit, where your heart races and reality morphs into a realm of terror. Nestled in Cincinnati, Ohio, this haunted attraction is not for the faint of heart. The schoolhouse derives its chilling name from a grim past. Once an actual schoolhouse in the early 1800s, it turned into a grim tale of horror and disappearances. Students vanished without a trace, their fate shrouded in mystery. Legends claim that the school's janitor, Charlie, harbored a sinister secret in the basement. Today, the Dent Schoolhouse stands as a spine-tingling haunted attraction, drawing brave souls from far and wide. From the moment you step inside, the atmosphere is thick with dread. Dimly lit hallways echo with the distant cries of restless spirits, and you're enveloped in a world where the line between reality and the supernatural blurs. The Dent Schoolhouse's sinister reputation stems from its commitment to immersive horror. As you navigate its dark corridors, you'll encounter ghastly apparitions, menacing monsters, and grisly scenes that defy belief. The attention to detail is astonishing, making every room feel like a descent into madness. One of these standout features is the infamous basement, where the malevolent spirit of Charlie is said to dwell. The claustrophobic passages, punctuated by eerie lighting and bone-chilling soundscapes, make it an unforgettable, hair-raising experience. But what truly sets the Dent Schoolhouse apart is the dedication of its performers. The actors are masters of their craft, immersing visitors in a chilling narrative that unfolds with each step. They blur the line between fiction and reality, leaving you questioning what's lurking in the shadows, which means job well done. For those who dare to enter, the schoolhouse offers an unforgettable journey into the macabre. It's a place where you might disappear into a world of terror, if only for a night. Kinda like how those students disappeared way back in the day. As you emerge from its haunted halls, your heart pounding and your nerves kinda frayed, you realize that some mysteries are best left unsolved. That is, if you make it out. Pennhurst Asylum. So this asylum is a chilling relic of the past tucked away in Spring City, Pennsylvania, and it beckons the brave and the curious alike. Its ominous history, shrouded in mystery and despair, makes it quite the haunting destination for those willing to, take a little peek around its eerie corridors. Once a state school for the mentally and physically disabled, Pennhurst's dark past is a tale of neglect and suffering. Not unusual, but still stories of mistreatment and torment linger like lingering echoes in its decaying halls. So the place was shuttered in the 80s, which is all too late in my opinion, but the scars it left behind have given birth to something altogether different. Today, Pennhurst Asylum stands as a nightmarish playground for those seeking a brush with the supernatural. From the moment you step onto its grim grounds, you're enveloped in an atmosphere of dread. The abandoned buildings loom, their windows like vacant eyes watching your every move. Inside, the haunting begins. It's a maze of twisted passages, each more unsettling than the last. The flickering lights cast eerie shadows on peeling wallpaper and rusted beds, remnants of the institution's grim history. The air is heavy with the weight of the past, and the feeling of being watched is inescapable. But it's, not just the decaying infrastructure that chills the bones at this place. The asylum boasts a family of actors who bring the horrors of its past to life. They portray the former staff and patients, their performances teetering on the edge of reality and fiction. You'll feel their anguish and torment, blurring the lines between history and horror. Well, that is if you make it out. One of these standout features is the infamous Mayflower Hall, known for its particularly intense paranormal activity. Here, visitors have reported unexplained phenomena ranging from whispers, shadowy figures, to unrelenting cold spots. Ooh, bother. It's a place where the veil between this world and the next seems disturbingly thin. As you navigate the nightmarish landscape, it's pretty easy to get lost in its dark history. The horrors you encounter are a reminder of the institution's grim past, where people were forgotten and suffering was the norm. Some say that those who disappear into Pennhurst may never truly leave, their spirits forever bound to its haunted halls. In the end, it stands as a chilling testament to the horrors of the past and the terrors of the unknown. Eloise Psychiatric Hospital was a large complex located in Westland, Michigan that operated from 1839 to early 1982. It started out as a poorhouse and farm and eventually developed into an asylum, sanatorium, and hospital. It's had a lot of names over the years, so bear with me here. In 1832, it was called the Wayne County Poorhouse. In 1872, it was the Wayne County Almshouse. Well, in 1886, it was referred to simply as the Wayne County House. In 1913, there were three divisions: the Eloise Hospital, which housed, the mental hospital, the Eloise Infirmary, or the poorhouse, and the Eloise Sanatorium, which housed patients with tuberculosis, and all three were collectively called Eloise. Oh, that's not the end of the name changes. In 1945, it was named Wayne County General Hospital and Infirmary at Eloise, Michigan, which, bit of a mouthful. By 1974, it had two divisions, separating the Wayne County Psychiatric Hospital from the General Hospital. By 1979, it was officially called Wayne County General Hospital, with the Psychiatric Division closing in 82. In its heyday, Eloise was made up of 78 buildings on 902 acres with 10,000 patients along with 2,000 staff, serving as the largest psychiatric facility in the United States. Only the firehouse, power plant, commissary, and D buildings still stand as of right now, as well as the cemetery. It had some good things back in the day, housing the first kidney dialysis unit in the entire state of Michigan and pioneering the use of music therapy, but they also used, hydrotherapy, shock therapy, and insulin therapy to treat patients. As the years went on, the institution grew larger and larger, which was a reflection in the increases of population in the area. From only 35 residents in 1989, the complex grew to about 10,000 residents at its peak during the Great Depression. Now to talk about the ghosties. My favorite part. Numerous typical poltergeist activities have been witnessed within the complex, with doors slamming and medical carts and tables being overturned. Generally speaking, there are shadow figures that seemingly drip from the ceilings and ooze from the walls of this place, becoming part of the building itself until they are one and the same. Two ghostly little ones have been seen running the paint-peeling walls of the hallways, turning a corner only to disappear. It's assumed they were inmates at the time Eloise was a poorhouse, where orphans often lived until they were adopted out or passed away. Possibly they died in their youth, or maybe they just relived their lives now without the fear that they had when they were alive. Carelessly playing games in a kind of purgatory. Now there's a mysterious lady that appears as a white vapor and has been seen manifesting within one of the buildings that still stand, and her voice has been recorded as she whispers, "Help." Another ghost is that of a doctor said to prowl the halls of the crumbling facility, and even in the afterlife, he searches for an unfortunate patient to practice his scientific methods. Some have reported seeing a specter drenched in water, possibly a reminder of when hydrotherapy was coming into popularity. Other times, the phantasm is seen wearing a smock stained in red, presumably from a lobotomy. Yoicks. Possibly the doctor lingers, tormented by the ghosts of the patients upon whom he practiced. Nowadays, this building is home to 2 different escape rooms, which is super duper fun. So if you feel like risking the ghost's wrath, that's on you. Good luck making it out. Number 1, the Winchester Mystery House. So the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California is a labyrinth masterpiece of incredible architecture and paranormal intrigue. Its story begins with Sarah Winchester, the widow of the inventor of the famous Winchester rifle. Legend has it that she believed the spirits of those killed by the rifle were haunting her, and her response was to embark on an unceasing construction project that lasted for decades. The house itself is a bewildering marvel, a maze of staircases that lead to nowhere, doors that open into walls, and windows that peer into adjacent rooms. Its design is an enigma, with the hallways doubling back on themselves and secret passages hidden behind bookshelves. But what makes the Winchester Mystery House truly spine-chilling are the rumors of hauntings. Visitors have reported ghostly apparitions, eerie footsteps, and unexplained cold spots. The layout adds to the unease, as one can easily become disoriented within its winding corridors. One of the most famous rooms in the mansion is the Seance Room, where Sarah herself is said to have communicated with the spirits. It's a place of both fascination and fear, with its ornate details and otherworldly purpose. Over the years, countless tales of visitors and employees experiencing unexplained phenomena at the house have added to its mystique. Some believe that Sarah's quest to appease vengeful spirits has left a lasting imprint on the mansion, making it a hotbed of paranormal activity. It's a place where the boundary between the living and the dead blurs. The Winchester Mystery House is a testament to the enduring power of mystery and the human fascination with the supernatural. After a 2-year hiatus from hosting Halloween events, they've been heavily promoting their latest attraction in time for this spooky season. And with a title like Unhinged Housewarming, it promises to be their scariest yet. Oh, you want to know? Okay. Cattle mutilations, mysterious lights and shapes in the sky, wolf-like creatures disappearing into the night, mysterious equipment failures, unknown illnesses, crop circles, disembodied voices, and more. Now, this 500 acres of isolated land is located between Ballard and Vernal, and the Sherman family acquired the ranch in the 1990s, but old myths of S-walkers, and which are witches with the ability to shapeshift into various animals, have haunted the region for centuries. Now, before the Sherman family inhabited the ranch, the spot was known as UFO Alley, Valley, and the news reported in 1978 that nearby residents had spotted a dome-shaped UFO over the ranch that was surrounded by a glowing green light. And the supernatural activity did not end when a family moved in. They reported doorways of light vanishing in midair, cattle that went poof, animals mutilated, crop circles. I know I'm repeating myself, folks, but it's bonkers. Also, invisible objects emitting destructive magnetic fields? Where the heck does that come from? Now, while investigating the disappearance of cattle, one man reportedly saw a large beast, like a wolf, but much bigger, harassing other cattle. Now, he was like, okay, I got a little firearm, let's get kapow. So the target landed, but the creature didn't slow down, seemed unscathed, and I'm gonna tell you right now, animals don't do that. So yes, you might be asking, okay Alexa, but what about disappearing nowadays? We're not cattle, we're human. Well, there's also the infamous hitchhiker effect, where visitors feel the effects of the ranch long after they've left. And whether it takes the form of strange phenomena or just an unshakable eeriness, the ranch seems to have some serious staying power. Theories range: ancient curses, geological forces, and good old-fashioned alien activity. The jury's still out and might never deliver a verdict, but one thing's for sure, trips to the ranch will lead to some serious spooking. Outsiders are not currently allowed on the property, but don't worry, there are plenty of neighbors in the area that have reported their fair share of strangeness. I wouldn't recommend trying to sneak onto the property, because folks who do don't really come back from it. Every ghost town is a safe bet to give you the spooks, and Utah sure has a lot of them, but I think Winter Quarters has an eerier past than others, one that might still be reverberating to the present. In 1900, now this place is located just out of Schofield Reservoir State Park, and it was a bustling mining town. Then disaster struck when an explosion in the mine, which was supposedly the safest in the state, resulted in the deaths of 225 men. And at the time, yeah, it was the worst mining disaster ever in the States. It's hard for anybody to go back to work after that, but these guys had more problems than most. Number one, well, we've got the ghost of a headless miner just wandering around, hanging out. The guys that were working in the mine saw that and were like, yeah, I'm not working one more second in here unless this thing gets out of here. So, the existence of the ghost, well, it kind of blew up, and it was soon identified as the spirit of Sandy McGovern, a miner whose body was the last to be taken out of the fatal pit after the explosion. So everybody was like, okay, where's the body? Let's put this to end. You wanna know how bad this got? Almost 50 men quit because of the ghost. 500 miners went on strike. What else? Oh, that's not the end of it, folks. Mysterious blue lights in the cemetery, strange noises in the depths. Now the mine has long since closed, but remnants of the town still stand, and mining technology, sure, has advanced a lot since then, but the ghosts are resurfacing. Look folks, I grew up in a gold mining town, and if I know anything about hanging around abandoned mines, you're risking your life. I wouldn't recommend it, you don't want to go poof. The Great Saltaire is an old music venue that is reported to be haunted by a couple of very hostile ghosts. Even Ghost Adventures visited there in 2021 to film The Great Saltaire Curse. The show claims the building and land around the resort is plagued by hostile paranormal energy, including the haunting presence of Saltaire Sally, a woman found dead on the property who seems to be pretty violent and causes physical pain to visitors. People also report hearing voices and seeing a lot of other ghostly unknowns roaming about. An employee says that usually between 1 or 2 bodies per year are found in the general area. So sure, maybe not going poof, but life going poof? And sure, the original resort thrived on that land for 32 years, at least until the first fire in 1925, but nowadays not so much. Guests are literally told, nothing seems to thrive here. So when the TV show visited the area, one of the crew members went off on his own to investigate the edge of the lake, and as he was setting up his equipment, he heard this crazy loud splash where the largest living creature is like a little tiny shrimp. So it freaked him out because he's like, there's nothing out there. Now, it's hard to describe what he saw, but he saw something in that water, and it was terrifying. Relics of the age of the Great Salt Lake resorts are nearby and can be seen from the highway. And until most recently, the most notable of these was the skeleton of a car 502, which is one of Salt Lake's interurban rail cars that sat beside the ruins of an old powerhouse, which once fed lights and roller coasters at the entrance to the original fair. The rail car was removed in 2012 by the property owner because, well, safety concerns. People kept getting hurt and going missing. Rows of piling snake outwards towards the lake, all that remains of the railway trestle and the pier that once led to the resort. The surviving buildings of Lake Park, one of the neighbors, were moved to a new site 30 miles away, where the Lagoon Amusement Park has grown around them. Now, the Salt Lake, Garfield, and Western still exists as a common carrier shortline railroad, providing switching service in this area. However, the tracks no longer reach the resort itself, and I'd recommend against exploring. In 2022, the Kingston Group was on the receiving end of a lawsuit from former members that alleged years of unpaid labor, people outsourcing, and icky non-consensual intercourse stuff. If I sound like a Looney Tune, there's things I can't say. The sex ex-members claim that it's largely through illegal marriage practices that the group is able to unlawfully make girls and their offspring religious martyrs and outsource them for intercourse and labor purposes, and overall make them disappear. None of the plaintiffs claim that the Kingston Group made them begin working during their early school days, through their pre-college years, and never received a paycheck. One complainant, Amanda Ray Grant, claimed she was assigned to work in her high school years at Advanced Copy, where wedding announcements and invitations were printed because wedding pictures of, well, icky marriages or plural marriages, well, you can't get those printed at Walmart. Well, the Kingston Group, which was founded in 1935, is not affiliated with the infamous FLDS. Members practice a fundamentalist version of Mormonism that involves multiple marriages. Members are primarily born into the organization, and they have a leader, Paul Eldon Kingston, known as the Man in the Watchtower. But you can also get recruited in or just stolen. The lawsuit explains how the birth certificates of multiple plaintiffs fail to list their biological fathers, so those men could escape the legal consequences inherent to having multiple, often too young wives. And two of the plaintiffs share the same father, Jesse Orville Kingston. The suit alleges Kingston family members try to preserve their lineage purity by marrying and procreating with other Kingstons. Now, Jesse is not listed on either birth certificate, according to the lawsuit, which additionally accuses him of fathering more than 300 offspring with 14 wives. The Kingston Group argued that it is the parents' prerogative to file birth records for their spawn how they choose within the bounds of the law, saying in the statement that it's especially true of the mother, who has the legal right to establish paternity or not at the time of filing. Now, the statement said, "We don't have any specific guidance for members pertaining to birth certificates, medical records, but we tell everybody to follow the law." Yeah, I'm calling bull. Anybody else? And finally for today, ever hear about the creatures of Utah Lake? Allegedly around 14 feet deep, the lake has been home to many a mysterious drowning or disappearance over the years, with numerous planes and boats rumored to be littering its depths. The creature of Utah's Bear Lake is the most well-known of the local unknown water cryptids. The local surrounding Native American tribes, Shoshone, Ute, and Bannock, were the first to speak about this creature. It was described as a giant serpent or dragon-like beast that would capture and carry away any and all that dare swim in the lake. So, disappearing. For example, in the early 1860s, Mormon settlers began to see these creatures. Somebody claimed to have seen something akin to a downed carcass just floating in the water. It had cluster-like ears the size of teacups, and it could spurt geysers of water from its nose. Now he's like, okay, this thing's gotta be so big, because it didn't drift to the shore, so its legs must have been embedded in the muddy-like bottom of the lake. Most of the sightings of this creature describe it as a kind of dragon or freakish alligator-like beast. In the year 2000, James Chase noticed something strange swimming in the lake near Pelican Point, and it was around 40 yards from where he was. He was like, this is something, it was a little bit larger than a barrel drum in width, and it surfaced like a whale and then submerged again. Apparently it was shimmering silver in color with large yellow stripes running vertically along its midsection. Now, James was a Hawaiian transplant, and he's seen a lot of different things in the ocean, but nothing like this. Also, there's a couple of other things. There's water babies. Look, I can't say the name. Apparently there's something to fear. They're kind of known as water kelpies, merfolk. And the local ones, well, they're a fairy water species, which is not good. Fairies are things that can be dangerous if you disregard or disrespect. So, turns out when you're walking by the shore, you hear distant crying. Sounds pretty young? Yeah, that's what you hear. So don't approach them or else you're going to disappear. Because if you only hear them, you're good. But if you see it, it's too late for you. Many a boater has come upon what looked like floating reeds or lakeweed. But in actuality, it's the hair of this little creature floating at the surface, and just below it, this little thing is waiting for you to fall into their trap.
At number 5, the Ohio State Reformatory. The Ohio State Reformatory, a haunting architectural marvel that carries within its walls the echoes of a troubled past. Constructed in the late 19th century, this imposing Victorian Gothic structure was initially intended to embody progressive correctional ideals. However, over time, it became synonymous with stories of despair, shuddering, and unexplained phenomena, solidifying its reputation as one of the most haunted places in the United States. The Reformatory's history is rife with tales of harsh conditions, overcrowding, and the struggles of those who were incarcerated within its confines. These factors, coupled with the tragic stories of inmates who lived and died there, have contributed to the pervasive sense of unease that envelops the site. Visitors often report strange occurrences, such as unexplained footsteps echoing through the empty halls, eerie whispers that seem to float on the air, and chilling cold spots that hint at otherworldly presences. In some cases, there have even been disappearances and killings, alluding to the dark spectral forces that inhabit the Reformatory. One of the most famous aspects of the Ohio State Reformatory is its appearance in the movie The Shawshank Redemption. While the film highlighted the Reformatory's grim atmosphere, its true history is far richer and more complex. The architecture itself tells a tale of a bygone era. With its intricate detailing unsettling and imposing structure, standing as a stark contrast to the stories of suffering that unfolded within its walls. Guided tours and events at the Reformatory allow visitors to explore its various sections, from the imposing cell blocks to the eerie solitary confinement area, known as the Hole, creating an immersive experience that evokes a sense of timelessness. The stark contrast between the ornate exterior and the haunting interior serves as a poignant reminder of the complex and often troubling history that defines the Reformatory. While some may dismiss claims of paranormal activity as mere superstition, the stories and experiences recounted by those who have visited the Ohio State Reformatory are difficult to ignore. The combination of a somber history, decaying architecture, and the mysterious ambience that permeates the air makes for an unforgettable experience that lingers long after the visit is over. Number 4. Molly Stark Sanatorium. The former Molly Stark Hospital, located in Molly Stark Park in Ohio, is a haunting relic of a bygone era. Once a treatment center for tuberculosis patients, the decaying building exudes a ghoulish aura, with vines snaking over ancient brick, shattered windows, and faded stone. Closed for over 2 decades, the hospital's dilapidated state has attracted ghost hunters and paranormal enthusiasts, leading to the erection of a barbed wire fence to deter trespassers. Owned by the Stark County Park District, the property offers public tours to its exterior, revealing intricate architectural details and a fascinating history. The hospital, originally constructed in 1929 at a cost of around $1 million, treated tuberculosis patients until the 1970s, and later served as a mental health facility and a rehabilitation center for those suffering with addiction. The tour provides insights into the hospital's architectural flourishes, including a portico and stone-carved religious symbols, reflective of the faith that played a role in caring for those afflicted by tuberculosis. The hospital's conditions quickly began to decline in the mid-1970s, after reports of ghost sightings within the hospital. Patients and staff alike bore witness to the likes of victims of tuberculosis, despite the fact that treatment for the illness was invented 20 years prior. These now-deceased patients were known to disrupt medical examinations, cause mass hysteria among patients and staff, and even cause many disappearances within the hospital. The amount of distress these apparitions caused eventually led to the hospital's closure in 1995. Nowadays, the site's haunted reputation draws curiosity seekers, but the tour focused mostly on the building's history rather than the many ghosts that still scuffle about the old hospital. And number 3, South Base Island Lighthouse. Perched atop the rugged cliffs of South Base Island in Put-in Bay, the historic lighthouse stands as both a beacon of maritime history and a portal to a realm of ghostly legends. The South Base Island Lighthouse, with its iconic red brick tower and majestic views of Lake Erie, cast a haunting silhouette against the ever-changing skies, drawing visitors from far and wide who seek to unravel the mysteries that have enshrouded this hallowed site for decades. Built in 1897, the South Base Island Lighthouse served as a vital navigational aid for ships traversing the treacherous waters of Lake Erie. Its light guided sailors through storms and fog, ensuring safe passage to the shores. However, as time marched on and technology advanced, the lighthouse's significance diminished, eventually leading to its decommissioning in the mid-20th century. But as darkness descends upon the island, the lighthouse takes on an air of malevolence. The wind howls like the mournful wails of lost souls, while the crashing waves below create a symphony of despair. Those brave enough to step inside confront an unsettling stillness, punctuated only by the occasional creak of floorboards under an invisible, unrelenting force. Phantom shadows dance along the walls. There are ethereal forms casting an ominous dance that defies explanation. Visitors recount harrowing tales of icy fingers brushing against their skin, of ghostly whispers that worm their way into their minds, and of an overpowering sense of dread that lingers long after they've fled the premises. The lighthouse had to be shut down after several reports of it turning off at random times, or guiding sailors towards dangerous areas, despite being completely unmanned. One can only assume that this mischief was the work of the spirits that haunt the lighthouse. This forsaken lighthouse has earned its place among the most terrifying locales in Ohio, a reputation upheld by relentless tales of ghostly apparitions, unexplainable phenomena, and an atmosphere so saturated with maleficent energy that it leaves visitors trembling in its wake. Whether driven by morbid curiosity or a thirst for the macabre, those who dare to cross the threshold into the South Base Island Lighthouse do so at their own peril. For here, in the heart of the lighthouse's labyrinthine corridors, the boundary between the living and the spectral blurs, and the chilling embrace of the unknown reaches out to ensnare those who dare to seek it. And at number 2, Moonville Tunnel. Deep within the remote woods of southeastern Ohio lies a sinister enigma shrouded in darkness the Moonville Tunnel. This desolate and haunted passage, long abandoned by the living, stands as a portal to a realm where reality intertwines with the supernatural, and where the unwary may find themselves vanishing into the void if they dare to tread too close. The Moonville Tunnel, a vestige of an era past, was once a vital conduit for a long-forgotten railway. Yet, as time eroded the tracks and decay seeped into its very stones, a chilling transformation occurred. Stories of ghastly apparitions and eerie encounters have swirled around the tunnel, like the mist that clings to its mouth. Tales whispered among locals with a mixture of dread and fascination. Daredevil adventurers who have ventured into the tunnel speak of an oppressive, tangible malevolence that envelops the air, an unrelenting presence that seems to watch, to wait, and to hunger for the unsuspecting. Perhaps the most sinister tale is that of the Moonville Tunnel's insatiable appetite for souls. It is said that if you step foot into the tunnel around 3 a.m., when the boundaries between worlds are at their thinnest, you may never step back out. Foolhardy wanderers who venture into its depths during the witching hour risk becoming mere specters themselves, forever trapped in a twilight realm of torment and despair. The tunnel's history is steeped in tragedy, adding to its ominous aura. Legends tell of a brakeman who met a grisly end beneath the wheels of an oncoming train, his anguished spirit now condemned to roam the dark expanse. Others speak of mournful phantom cries that pierce the silence, echoing the heart-wrenching despair of a long-lost soul. Visitors who dare to challenge the Moonville Tunnel's eerie reputation tread a perilous path, as the moonlight filters through the dense canopy, casting ghostly shadows upon the tunnel's yawning maw. A feeling of being watched intensifies. Footsteps echo with an eerie resonance, their sound swallowed by the blackness ahead. Time itself seems to warp, stretching and distorting reality as though beckoning the unwary to step beyond the veil. To approach the Moonville Tunnel is to court danger, to teeter on the precipice of the unknown. It is a place where the boundary between the living and the dead blurs, where the rules of our reality are subverted by forces beyond comprehension. As the wind whispers secrets and the very earth seems to hold its breath, those who venture too close may find themselves joining the ranks of the vanished, a chilling testament to the dark and untamed forces that linger within the haunted confines of Moonville Tunnel. Coming in at number 1, Franklin Castle. Franklin Castle, an imposing Victorian mansion nestled in the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, stands as an enigmatic edifice brimming with dark secrets and eerie tales that have earned it a reputation as one of the most haunted houses in America. With its intricate architecture, turrets, and ornate details, the castle's exterior belies the chilling stories that have swirled around it for generations. Built in the late 19th century by German immigrant and banker Hans Tiedemann, the Franklin Castle was intended to be a symbol of prosperity and opulence. However, as time passed, the mansion's grandeur began to fade, replaced by rumors of tragedy, scandal, and paranormal activity that would come to define its legacy. The Tiedemann family was plagued by a series of untimely deaths, including the passing of several youngsters and Tiedemann's wife. The pervasive aura of grief seemed to seep into the very walls of the castle, fostering an atmosphere of melancholy and despair. It is said that the spirits of the deceased still linger within its chambers, their presence felt by those who dare to venture inside. Over the years, reports of ghostly apparitions, disembodied voices, and unexplained phenomena have only added to the castle's haunted mystique. Visitors and paranormal enthusiasts alike have recounted chilling experiences, from encountering spectral figures that vanish into thin air, to hearing whispers that seem to drift from empty rooms. Cold spots and sudden drops in temperature are often attributed to the presence of otherworldly entities, and of course the few unlucky folks who, seemingly out of random, would receive the same curse as Tiedemann all those years ago. The castle's haunted reputation has been further fueled by the stories of secret passageways, hidden rooms, and a mysterious woman in black who is said to roam the halls. These elements, combined with the mansion's unsettling history, have led to countless investigations by ghost hunters and paranormal experts seeking to unlock its mysteries. At lucky number 5 is Joliet Correctional Center. The Joliet Correctional Center, established in Joliet, Illinois in 1858, holds a storied past that is as captivating as it is haunting. This historic penitentiary served as a house of horrors for over 150 years, housing some of the state's most notorious criminals. Within its imposing stone walls lie a rich history of many eerie and disturbing tales. But the most chilling of these tales is that of the murder of the warden's wife in 1915. Odette Allen, better known simply as as the warden's wife, was an aspiring singer before marrying her husband, Warden Ned Allen. The marriage would have her move from her home in Los Angeles to living in the Joliet Correctional Center with her betrothed. Odette was incredibly popular among the inmates. She was known to be a kind and compassionate woman who tried to make the lives of the prisoners a little more bearable by offering them small acts of kindness, such as providing treats or lending a listening ear to their troubles. The inmates would call her things like the Good Angel and the Little Mother at the Big Stir, out of admiration for her benevolence. The inmates would often act as servants to her and the warden, as an alternative to hard prison labor. In June of 1915, the warden went to Chicago to meet with politicians about the building of a new prison. Odette didn't join her husband because the dresses she wanted to wear weren't yet ready. One morning, Odette asked for the help of Joe Campbell, also known as Chicken Joe, a prisoner who had been convicted of murder at the age of 29. He was selected to be Odette's personal servant because of his great behavior and his healthy relationship with her and the warden. He was due for parole the next week, and Odette was going to testify for him at his hearing. Sounds like life was looking up for Chicken Joe, but what happened next would tragically bring all these good things to ruin for the young prisoner. The morning of her death, Odette asked Joe to refill her water bottle, go grab her coffee and a newspaper, and to walk her dog. To this, Joe obliged. But then, an hour later, he would return to the house with smoke coming from Odette's bedroom window. Firefighters were quick to the scene, but were not fast enough, as once they extinguished the flames, Odette's charred body was already laying still on the bed. Upon investigation, they discovered that Odette was SA'd and killed before the bed was set on fire, and suspicions immediately turned to Chicken Joe. Joe was the subject of much scrutiny from police, Illinois citizens, and even fellow prisoners. Even after adamantly pleading innocence, Joe was sentenced to death by the court, but his sentence was changed to life in prison at the last second by a sympathetic governor who believed his story. After the tragedy, strange things started happening in the prison. Many inmates and guards would report seeing or hearing Odette still wandering the halls. There have also been some cases of hearing her singing in the nearby prison cemetery. One night in the 1930s, about 5,000 people went to the cemetery armed in an attempt to vanquish the apparition, but no one could find her anywhere. Amidst the chaos, a dozen people went missing, supposed victims of the ghost, which to me is crazy. Like, at what point are you so scared of a ghost you need 5,000 people just to get rid of it? And they still didn't even find her. Just give up at that point, guys, come on. Anyway, it is said that Odette remains in the prison in order to protect her boys, the prisoners who were inspired by her kindness and honored her after death through their good behavior. Any visitor that would try to disturb her peace would incur the poltergeist's wrath and suddenly disappear. If you were to visit the prison today, which closed in 2002 and was turned into a historical site, there's still a good chance you might come across Odette's ghost, still wandering and singing. Next up at number 4 is the Congress Plaza Hotel. Constructed in 1893 as part of the World's Columbian Exposition, the Congress Plaza Hotel has welcomed countless guests over the years, including prominent figures such as presidents, celebrities, and even infamous gangsters. Its iconic location overlooking Grant Park and Lake Michigan has made it a popular choice for visitors seeking a taste of vintage luxury. But it is the hotel's dark past and ghostly residents that have set it truly apart. One of the most well-known ghosts said to haunt the hotel is that of a ghostly presence known as the Shadow Man. His story dates back to 1900, when Captain Louis Ostheim, a war veteran haunted by the horrors of the Spanish-American War, sought refuge at the hotel on the eve of his wedding. The captain would often experience PTSD-induced night terrors and suffer from extreme anxiety and paranoia. The night of his death, he awoke suddenly after being consumed by a brutal episode. In his disoriented state, he would search for solace or an escape from his inner demons. And tragically, he took his own life. Ever since that fateful night, the spirit of Captain Ostheim has been seen walking through the Congress Plaza Hotel, appearing as a shadowy figure gliding through the halls with a haunting aura. Guests and staff have reported encountering the Shadow Man on multiple occasions, his spectral form silently following their footsteps, as if seeking some elusive connection or unfinished business. Those unlucky enough to meet the Shadow Man's gaze would begin feeling greatly distressed and having night terrors of their own, some meeting the same fate as him after the fact. As the years have passed, the legend of the Shadow Man has become deeply ingrained in the history of the Congress Plaza Hotel, adding to its reputation as one of Illinois' most haunted locations. The spirit's enigmatic presence, coupled with the tragic circumstances that led to his lingering existence, makes encounters with the Shadow Man as eerie and thought-provoking as they are dangerous. Do any of you guys see any ghosts while staying in a hotel? Leave a comment, because I feel like these days every hotel on the planet is haunted. Next, at number 3, is the Englewood Post Office. H.H. Holmes, no relation to Sherlock, was a deceptive figure who gained infamy in the late 19th century as one of America's first documented serial killers. Operating during the time of the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, Holmes constructed a nightmarish building with a name I'm not even allowed to say on YouTube. But for the sake of brevity, I'll call it Death Castle. Officially named the Holmes Castle or the World's Fair Hotel, Death Castle was a 3-story building located on the corner of 63rd and Wallace Street in the Englewood neighborhood of Chicago. From the outside, it looked the same as any other ordinary commercial building, complete with shops and apartments. However, its true purpose was far more sinister. Inside the castle, Holmes had constructed a labyrinth of secret passages, hidden staircases, and windowless rooms designed for his nefarious deeds. He used his magnetic charm to lure and manipulate unsuspecting victims, often young women, and visitors to the World's Fair into his deadly lair. The castle featured soundproof rooms, gas chambers, trap doors, and a chilling basement equipped with dissection tables and vats of acid. Holmes would typically seduce and swindle his victims before leading them to their deaths. Many were asphyxiated with gas, mutilated, tormented both psychologically and physically, and killed in various gruesome ways. Once they were deceased, Holmes would dispose of their bodies through the building's hidden chutes, transporting them to the basement for disposal. His exact number of victims remains a mystery, but it is believed he may have killed anywhere from 20 to 200 people during his spree. His sinister acts continued undetected for years, aided by his ability to change aliases frequently, making it difficult for authorities to track him down. Holmes' reign of terror finally came to an end when he was arrested in 1894 for an unrelated insurance fraud scheme. That castle didn't pay for itself, I guess. As investigators delved into his background, they began uncovering evidence for his horrifying crimes. On May 7th, 1986, H.H. Holmes was executed. Before his death, he confessed to 27 killings, but hinted at a much higher body count. Afterwards, the infamous Death Castle was later destroyed by a mysterious fire, and a post office was built atop the ruins. Within the Englewood post office, it is said that you can still hear the many screams of Holmes' victims. And there have been reports of those who dared venture to the basement, which survived the fire, and you can still see Holmes killing one of his 200 victims, a phantom that echoes the terrifying events that occurred over a century ago. I just got the chills. Next up, at number 2, is a short one. Resurrection Cemetery. Located in Justice, Illinois, the Resurrection Cemetery holds what it is known to be Illinois' most famous ghost, known only as Resurrection Mary. The story goes that Mary was a vibrant and lively dancer who attended the dance hall in the 1930s. One fateful night, she left the hall after an argument with her partner and decided to walk home alone along Archer Avenue. Tragically, Mary was struck and killed by a hit-and-run driver while walking along the desolate road. Since then, motorists driving along the street will often see Mary's ghost walking along the road wearing a white gown and dancing shoes. In some cases, Mary will appear as a hitchhiker, but by the time the car reaches Resurrection Cemetery, she would suddenly vanish, occasionally taking the driver with her. Remember guys, don't pick up mysterious, ghostly women off the side of the road. It's called stranger danger, and we should all know it by now. Moving on to number 1 is Manteno State Mental Hospital. Established in Manteno, Illinois in 1930, the Manteno State Mental Hospital initially served as a psychiatric facility for mentally ill and developmentally disabled patients, offering them treatment and care. However, over the years, the hospital's conditions deteriorated, leading to allegations of beatings, neglect, and the mistreatment of its vulnerable inhabitants. These inhumane conditions only worsened as time passed, with tales of neglect, experimentation, and even deaths due to inadequate medical attention began to spread, shrouding the institution and its reputation in darkness and sorrow. The hospital was at its worst when 384 patients and staff came down with typhoid fever in 1939 in an incident referred to as the Manteno Madness. The director of the hospital mistook the affliction to be nothing more than a case of diarrhea, but when patients and staff began dying, panic set in. Patients banging on windows, orderlies going missing, doctors deliberately injuring their patients. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. Those who died during the Manteno Madness would later haunt the abandoned asylum after its closure in 1985. Those who visited the old hospital would report seeing patients and doctors alike scurrying about the abandoned halls, but it was those who ventured into the tunnels beneath the hospital that were in real danger. Paranormal investigators have gone down into the tunnels in hopes of finding the rumored ghosts, but are met with a much more sinister presence. It is said that the malevolent doctors who would mistreat their patients wander the complex of tunnels, hoping to release their rage upon anyone stupid enough to enter their domain. What was once a place that healed was now a place that harmed, enthralling thrill seekers to see the mad doctors for themselves, only to pay an unfortunate price. After the repeated disappearances of ghost hunters, urban explorers, vandals, and the like, the building was demolished by Wrecking Ball in 2015 to discourage anyone from entering the haunted grounds.